Hey guys, welcome to the Daily Word Bible Study, a plain and simple book by book, chapter by chapter, verse by verse study through the entire Bible. We are in Isaiah chapter 6 this time. The prophecies of Isaiah. Um, let's bring it up. We get a little timeline of Isaiah. I'm gonna go to there before I get into it, just to kind of show you where we are with Isaiah. Um, all right, so Isaiah, we're gonna see like Isaiah 6 here, and this is a kind of a rough timeline, 739 BC. So this is kind of what timeline we are in as far as the writings of uh, uh, Isaiah. You remember I said that sometimes what you have is the prophecies are strung together. So, like here, the prophecies of Emmanuel, which we would get to, but 735. But Isaiah's commission, we're going to get to in just a moment. He comes right on. He's alive in this time, but he comes right on this death of Uzziah, King Uzziah. Now, Uzziah was a good king for the most part, but he got into pride and ended up being a leper for the rest of his life. He tried to go and actually offer a sacrifice in the temple against God's strict command, just for pride. It got into his pride, and as a result of it, in fact, when he went in, he was offering this incense, and the priest ran into him and says, "King Uzziah, what are you doing? And you better get out of here, you know." And as he was standing there, all of a sudden the priest started looking because the leprosy started forming all over his body. And as a result, he lived a leper for the rest of his life. Now, other than that, he was a good king, okay? Other than that, he was a good king. So let's go into uh, Isaiah chapter 6. And this is where you're going to see, he says, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated high and loft. I'm sorry. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a high and lofty throne, and his robe filled the temple. Seraphims were standing above him. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. His glory fills the whole earth." Now, a lot to unpack here. One, you see the commission of Uzziah, a true prophet. Now, I've covered this before when we talk about the writings of the prophets, because this is important, because today in Christendom, there are a lot of people who claim to be prophets. In fact, it's almost kind of a given that some of these shysters would either say, "I'm an apostle," or "I'm a prophet." Apostle has greater weight, okay? And it's almost like they just kind of sit up and just make it up. They think it's a kind of a title, self-imposed title. Now, in order to bolster their claim, they make up a lot of broad speaking prophecies, stuff that doesn't kind of make sense. And half the time when they do venture or be so bold as to make a prediction, most of the predictions do not come to pass. In other words, if I prophesy something, there's always a 50-50 chance that, it can come to pass. So if I say, "Thus saith the Lord, it's going to rain tomorrow." Well, if it rains tomorrow, I could kind of boast, "See, my prophecies came true." But there's a more precise procedure here, and I'll get to that in a moment. The reason why, like what is being said here, is very important is because God is letting us know what is the true and how to test a true prophet. One of the ways I did it for many years when coming up, that one of the ways in which we just assume that when we go to a church, so if you're under the leadership of a pastor, that pastor is honest, then the people that he invites in are honest, the people that we see on television are honest. The reality is that the only true way you could test is through the scriptures. And I said that if anyone who claims to be a prophet, a true prophet of God, this happens. So notice he says, I saw the Lord seated high on a throne. So I'm going to read all of his experience here. This commissioning, how God will commission a true prophet. So he says here, well, you know what? Let me do this. Take a little, let me take a little, oh, what do I want? 12. That's not what I wanted to do. So in Numbers chapter 12, I've gone over this many times, but I think that it's so important here. There's some things that I said. Now, in this case, what had happened that Miriam and Aaron, who were Moses' actually older sisters, they were actually older about where am I at here? Numbers, yeah. Numbers 12. Why? Numbers 12. Where are you at? Okay. Why is this book here? Numbers 12. Where am I at here? Okay. Let's see here, guys. Well, let me tell you the story, because why is this so let me tell you this. This was the story about Miriam and Aaron, who criticized Moses for marrying a Cushite woman. And I don't know why I'm having such trouble here. Okay. That's because I'm in the wrong book. Okay, let me do that. I'm in the wrong book. That's right. Okay. Numbers 12. Okay. I was in the wrong book. All right, let me read the story here. Okay. So it says, verse 1 says, Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because of the Cushite woman he married, for he had married a Cushite woman. Now, kind of interesting, this timeline here, which seems to be going into the 40th year. Now, because right here in numbers, there seems it's hard to tell that there is almost a 38-year jump, okay, in time. Okay, so I don't know if this is at the 3-month period of time or the 2-year period of time as they come out of Egypt, or around the 38th year. Because I think this, I'm more inclined to believe that this came at the 2-year point. But anyway, it says Miriam and Aaron criticized Moses because of a Cushite woman, so he married a Cushite woman. I only reason I brought that up is because Moses, we don't know what happened to his first wife, Zipporah. It says, then the Lord, they said, does the Lord speak only through Moses? Now keep that statement there. Does he also not speak through us? And the Lord heard it. And Moses, a very humble man, more so than any man on the face of the earth. Suddenly the Lord said to Moses and Aaron and Miriam, you three come out to the tent of the meeting. So the three of them went out. Then the Lord descended in the pillar of cloud, stood at the entrance of the tent, and summoned Aaron and Miriam. And when the two of them came forward, he said, and I want you to kind of hear what's important what he said here. Listen to what I say. If there is a prophet among you from the Lord, I make myself known to him in vision, and I speak with him in dreams. Not so with my servant Moses. I speak with him directly, openly, not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Now, I want to go back to verse 7. It is not so with Moses, my servant. I'm sorry. Verse 6. If there is a prophet among you from the Lord, make myself known to him in a vision, not speak with him in a dream. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is to show you the process. See, when God calls a prophet, that God will reveal himself to that prophet. That prophet then knows beyond a shadow of a doubt, to the point that he is going to speak God's word no matter what the cost. He's going to know right off what is the word of the Lord. Now that's extremely important. So when people call themselves today prophets, and we, just in Christendom a lot, there is people just, well, the Lord spoke to me, or the Lord said to me. Wishful thinking. 99.9% of the time, God hasn't spoken to you. It is your own thoughts. Because you know when God speaks to you, and God's going to make it clear if he chooses to speak to you. Now, even more so if he chooses to use you as his mouthpiece. Notice what he says here, the criteria. He's going to reveal himself to this person. He's going to make himself known to that person. So there's no mistake. There's no mistake when God speaks. All right, so when we come back here, he says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated high. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on a high and lofty throne, and his robe filled the temple. So right here we see this criteria continuing to a true prophet. Okay, God revealing himself to Isaiah as a true prophet. So now we can trust the words of prophecy that come from Isaiah. Some of these fly by night. And let me just say this. I cannot tell you one person who claims to be a prophet today is a true prophet. Okay? And I'll leave it at that. Verse 2, Seraphims were standing above. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew, and one called to another, saying, Holy, 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 the Lord of hosts, his glory fills the whole earth. Now we're going to see these creatures here. They're called seraphims. So when we talk about angels, really the technical classification, you can more so say heavenly beings, because angels is only one group of heavenly beings. And they're ministering spirits. In other words, they're messengers. So when you come up in rank, you can have cherubims, seraphims, and I believe we'll see later, I think the highest of those orders is the cherubim. There's archangels, okay? So when he says he sees a seraphim, then you see this kind of picture here with 6 wings. We're going to see him throughout, especially when we get to Ezekiel, okay? You see that also in the book of Revelation. Verse 4 says, the foundation of the doorway shook at the sound of their voices, and the temple was filled with smoke. Then I said, woe is me, for I am ruined, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, because my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Remember, every time there was this wide belief that if you saw the face of, if you saw God, you would die. Well, the truth of the matter is that if you saw the face of God as a frail human, you would die. God Himself says, "No man can look upon my face and live. No man can see me and live." So the idea is that the point that Isaiah is looking and thinking, okay, I've seen this heavenly picture, uh, this heavenly vision, I'm going to die. The reality is he's not looking at God, he's seeing God enclosed in His glory. So he's not looking at the direct face of God, but God as He is enclosed with His glory. Okay? In fact, if you go back in terms of even the journeys of Moses, Moses saw God. He saw his backside, and actually, like if God came up and looked at you face to face, you're toast. Most of the times in these revelations too, that people were seeing angels and not God. Here you see Isaiah seeing God sitting upon His throne, but he's enthroned in His glory, not the direct face. Verse 6: Then one of the seraphim flew to me, and in his hand was a glowing coal, and when he had taken from the altar, with the tongs, he touched my mouth with it and said, now this has touched your lips, your wickedness is removed, and your sin is atoned for. Then I heard a voice of the Lord saying, now, so when the cleansing of Isaiah's sin is not the what Jesus accomplished on the cross. Okay, remember every year the priests were supposed to go to the temple and offer the yearly atoning sacrifice that only removed their sins for a year or briefly. Verse 8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send who will go for us? Then I said, here am I, send me. And He replied, go, say to these people, keep listening but do not understand. Keep looking but do not perceive. Dull the minds of these people, deafen their ears and blind their eyes, otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their minds, turn back and be healed. Then I said, until when, Lord? And He replied, until the cities lie in ruins. Until the cities lie in ruins without inhabitants, houses are without people, in the land ruined and desolate. And the Lord drives the people far away, leaving a great emptiness in the land. Though a tenth will remain in the land, it will be burned again, like a terebinth or an oak that leaves a stump when it fails. The holy seed is the stump. So again, you see this again. I'm going to go back to this verse here because you see Jesus citing this verse here when He says, go, say to these people, keep listening but do not understand, keep looking but do not perceive. Dull minds of these people, deafen their ears and blind their eyes, otherwise they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their minds and turn back and be healed. Now, when you read something like this, right away it looks like God is saying that He is purposely blinding their minds, so purposely for them not to be healed. And the idea is sometimes how we talk, your mother may say, keep playing with me, huh? Keep playing with me. Well, what is He actually saying? Don't play with me or you're going to be in trouble. What God is responding to is their hardness of heart. The fact that they have been told, but they keep rejecting the voice of God. I mean, the word of the Lord. So that's why He said this. And it's in this context here in which He's saying, go say to these people, keep listening, but you don't understand. So the question is, if He didn't want them to understand, why is He sending Isaiah to speak to them, to prophesy to them? And we're going to see much more than that. All right, guys, don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. As always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. I'll see you in the next study.